You wake up feeling refreshed sunlight pouring into your kitchen as you prepare the same breakfast you've enjoyed for years. It's warm, familiar, and comforting. You sit down, take that first bite, and feel a little boost of energy. But within an hour, you notice something unusual. You're unusually thirsty, your heart feels like it's beating harder, and your vision briefly blurs when you stand up. You tell yourself it's just age catching up with you. But what if it's something far more dangerous? As a brain doctor specializing in senior health, I've seen this scene play out far too many times. A seemingly innocent breakfast, often praised as healthy, can quietly push blood sugar into dangerous territory, setting the stage for type 2 diabetes or worsening an already fragile condition. The most frightening part: you may not even feel the damage happening until it's too late. Elevated blood sugar doesn't always announce itself with pain or dramatic symptoms. It works quietly day after day, damaging blood vessels, nerves, and brain cells. Let me tell you about Mr. Harold, a 68-year-old retired teacher who came to me complaining of constant fatigue and increasing forgetfulness. His mornings always began with what he believed was the perfect start: a large glass of orange juice, a bowl of low-fat cereal with skim milk, and a slice of toast with jam. On paper, it seemed balanced: fruit for vitamins, cereal for energy, and low-fat dairy for health. But hidden in that cheerful breakfast was a concentrated sugar load, spiking his glucose levels far beyond what his aging pancreas could manage. Here's the part most seniors don't realize: as we age, our cells naturally become more resistant to insulin, the hormone that helps move sugar out of the bloodstream. That means the same breakfast you handled effortlessly at 40 could now send your blood sugar soaring at 65. In Harold's case, his healthy morning routine caused his blood sugar to rise quickly, stay high for hours, and crash before lunch, leaving him drained, irritable, and craving more sugar. Over time, these daily surges didn't just raise his diabetes risk, they were harming his brain. High blood sugar triggers inflammation and oxidative stress, which can damage neurons and reduce blood flow to brain tissue. That's why Harold's forgetfulness wasn't just senior moments, it was an early warning sign. When we ran his tests, his fasting glucose was already in the pre-diabetic range, and his A1C confirmed that his blood sugar had been running high for months. When I told Harold the likely culprit was his breakfast, he was stunned. "But I've eaten this for years," he said. "That's exactly the problem. Age changes the way your body processes food. What worked in the past can quietly turn harmful without you realizing it." This is why I speak so urgently to seniors about their morning routines. Breakfast sets the tone for your entire day. A high-sugar breakfast triggers a hormonal chain reaction. Insulin spikes, followed by a crash. Then cortisol rises to stabilize blood sugar, which in turn can raise blood pressure and stress your heart. Repeat that cycle every morning, and you're not just feeding your hunger, you're feeding a chronic disease. The saddest part is how preventable this can be. By making small adjustments, reducing added sugars, pairing carbohydrates with protein and healthy fats, and choosing lower glycemic foods, you can keep your blood sugar steady, protect your brain, and safeguard your heart. But the first step is knowing which breakfast habits are putting you at risk. Before we dive into them, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common breakfast habits that can quietly push your diabetes risk higher than you realize, starting with how aging itself changes your body's sugar control in ways most people don't know. As you get older, your body's ability to manage blood sugar doesn't just slow down, it changes in fundamental ways that make diabetes more likely. This isn't about willpower or eating too much sugar in the simplistic way people often talk about. It's about the way your metabolism evolves with age. One of the biggest changes is a phenomenon called age-related insulin resistance. When you're younger, your muscle cells respond quickly to insulin, pulling glucose out of the bloodstream for energy. But after age 60, muscle mass begins to decline, a process called sarcopenia, leaving fewer cells to take in that glucose. At the same time, fat cells, especially those around your belly, tend to increase. These fat cells release inflammatory chemicals that make your muscles and liver less sensitive to insulin signal. Let's go back to Harold, my retired teacher. Even though he wasn't overweight by much, his waistline had expanded over the years. This extra abdominal fat wasn't just sitting there, it was actively interfering with his body's ability to keep blood sugar stable. Every time he drank that glass of orange juice in the morning, the simple sugars flooded into his bloodstream, and his muscles, already less responsive, took in far less than they did in his 40s. His pancreas had to pump out more and more insulin just to try to keep up. And here's where the danger builds quietly. Years of overworking the pancreas can lead to beta cell burnout. Those are the cells that produce insulin, and once they're damaged, your body can't make enough to keep blood sugar in check. It's not unusual for someone to go from normal blood sugar to prediabetes to full-blown type 2 diabetes in just a few years once this process starts. There's another age-related factor most people overlook: slower digestion. As you age, the muscles that move food through your stomach and intestines don't work as quickly. This can lead to uneven absorption of nutrients, making blood sugar spikes more unpredictable. Some days your breakfast might digest faster, causing a sharp glucose surge. Other days it might linger and release sugar more slowly, which can still cause problems if your insulin response is impaired. One of my other patients, 72-year-old Marlene, experienced this in a dangerous way. She had been eating instant oatmeal for years, believing it was heart healthy, but the quick-cook variety she bought was heavily processed, meaning the fiber was stripped away. This caused her blood sugar to jump dramatically within 30 minutes of eating it. Combined with her slower metabolism and reduced muscle mass, those morning spikes were enough to keep her blood sugar elevated for hours. She didn't feel sick, so she assumed everything was fine until a routine blood test revealed her A1C had crossed into diabetic territory. I often tell my patients, your body at 65 is not the same body you had at 45. Foods that once seemed harmless can now cause harm because your ability to process glucose has changed. This is especially true for breakfast, the meal that sets the tone for your hormonal and metabolic rhythm all day. The reality is, seniors need more protein, more fiber, and fewer fast-digesting carbohydrates in the morning to keep blood sugar steady. Starting the day with a sugar-laden breakfast is like throwing gasoline on a smoldering fire. It may not burn you instantly, but over time it can lead to a dangerous blaze. And here's the twist: some of the worst culprits for morning blood sugar spikes aren't even what you'd expect. You might think coffee or tea is safe, but the way you prepare them can turn them into hidden sugar bombs. In fact, that's exactly where we're headed next. If you thought your morning cup was harmless, you might be in for a surprise. For many people, the day doesn't truly begin until they've had their morning coffee or tea. The aroma, the warmth of the cup, and that first sip, it's a ritual woven into daily life. But for seniors, what goes into that cup can mean the difference between stable blood sugar and a dangerous morning spike. The problem isn't usually the coffee or tea itself. It's what we add to it. Take coffee, for example. Black coffee on its own contains almost no calories or carbohydrates. In moderate amounts, it may even have some benefits for brain health. But the moment you add flavored creamer, sweetened syrups, or even natural sweeteners like honey or agave, you can load it with 20, 30, even 50 grams of sugar before you've taken your first bite of food. For someone over 60 whose insulin response is already slower, that's like pouring pure glucose into the bloodstream. I remember a patient named Linda, 70 years old, who swore she didn't eat sweets. She avoided cake, cookies, and desserts entirely. But every morning she filled her coffee with 2 large spoonfuls of flavored creamer and a drizzle of honey. That single habit delivered as much sugar as a can of soda without her realizing it. Over time, her fasting blood sugar crept up, and her doctor diagnosed her with prediabetes. She was shocked, saying, "But I don't eat sugar." The truth was, she drank it every day. Tea drinkers aren't immune either. Many seniors believe tea is automatically a healthier choice, but sweetened iced teas, chai lattes, or milk teas often contain hidden syrups and sweetened condensed milk. Even herbal teas, if prepared with added honey or packaged with flavor enhancers, can spike blood sugar sharply. And because tea often feels light and healthy, it's easy to overlook how much sugar has been added. Here's a biochemical reality: liquid sugars hit your bloodstream faster than solid food. Without the fiber and structure of whole foods, there's nothing to slow absorption. This means your blood sugar can rise sharply within minutes of drinking a sweetened coffee or tea, putting stress on your pancreas and blood vessels. Over time, this repeated stress can worsen insulin resistance and speed up the progression toward diabetes. It's not just the sugar content that matters, timing plays a role too. Drinking sweetened coffee or tea on an empty stomach in the morning amplifies the blood sugar spike. With no protein or healthy fats to slow digestion, your body absorbs that sugar in a rush, leading to a steep rise and then a crash. That crash can leave you fatigued, irritable, and craving more carbs, creating a vicious cycle throughout the day. Another overlooked issue is the serving size creep. Many coffee shop drinks are much larger than the traditional 6 to 8 ounce cups people used to drink at home. A medium at some chains can be 16 ounces or more, meaning you're getting double the sugar without realizing it. One of my older patients, George, 65, learned this the hard way. After retiring, he treated himself to a daily cafe latte from his local coffee shop. He chose soy milk thinking it was healthier, but the version they used was pre-sweetened. By the time you added the flavored syrup, his morning drink had over 40 grams of sugar. When we removed this habit and replaced it with unsweetened coffee alongside a protein-rich breakfast, his fasting blood sugar dropped within 2 months. This is why I tell my patients your morning beverage isn't just a drink, it's part of your breakfast, and it can make or break your blood sugar control. If you want to protect your health, switch to unsweetened versions. Use cinnamon or vanilla extract for flavor and pair your drink with a balanced meal. And coffee and tea aren't the only breakfast items with hidden sugar problems. Some of the most popular foods in the morning market themselves as healthy, but are actually loaded with refined carbs that cause the same damaging spikes. One of the biggest offenders, the breakfast cereal in your cupboard. Walk down any grocery store aisle and you'll see bright boxes of cereal promising heart health, whole grains, and essential vitamins. For decades, cereal has been marketed as the ideal quick breakfast, especially to older adults who want something light, easy, and seemingly healthy. But here's the truth. Many of these cereals are nothing more than sugar and refined starch in a colorful box. The problem starts with processing. Whole grains in their natural form contain fiber, which slows digestion and keeps blood sugar stable. But when grains are refined to make them crisp, puffed, or flaked, most of the fiber is removed. What's left is a carbohydrate that your body can break down into glucose almost instantly. Add the sugar that's mixed into the flakes themselves and you've got a recipe for a sharp, fast blood sugar spike. Take my patient Arthur, 74 years old. He had switched from bacon and eggs to a healthy cereal with skim milk, thinking he was making a heart-smart choice. The front of the box said low-fat and made with whole grains, so he assumed it was safe. But a closer look at the label revealed 12 grams of sugar per serving, and the serving size was far smaller than the bowl he poured each morning. In reality, Arthur was getting nearly 30 grams of sugar before 8 a.m., and because the cereal was low in protein and fat, his blood sugar would rise quickly and then plummet within a couple of hours. That crash left him tired, irritable, and reaching for more carbs mid-morning. Another hidden danger is glycemic load, a measure that accounts for both the type of carbohydrate and how much you eat. Even cereals with no added sugar can have a high glycemic load if they're made from refined grains. This means your blood sugar still spikes sharply, forcing your pancreas to work overtime to produce insulin. For seniors whose insulin sensitivity is already reduced, this creates a daily strain that accelerates the path to diabetes. Some brands try to mask the problem by fortifying cereals with vitamins and minerals. While added nutrients may sound beneficial, they don't cancel out the harmful effects of refined carbs and sugars. In fact, the sweet flavor and bright packaging can create a health halo, making you believe you're eating something good for you when it's actually damaging your metabolic health. Here's something many people overlook. Even so-called high-fiber cereals can be deceptive. Some add isolated fibers like inulin or chicory root to boost fiber numbers on the label, but these don't slow blood sugar spikes the same way natural fiber from intact whole grains does. Plus, for some people, these added fibers can cause bloating or discomfort. I also see seniors falling into the trap of combining cereal with other high-carb breakfast foods. For example, cereal with milk, which contains lactose sugar, and a glass of orange juice can push your morning sugar intake into dangerous territory before the day has even started. That triple hit of carbs, refined grain, added sugar, and natural sugars from milk and juice floods the bloodstream and sets off the same inflammatory and oxidative stress responses linked to heart disease and dementia. Arthur's story had a happy ending. Once he understood how his cereal choice was affecting him, we replaced it with a breakfast that paired moderate carbs with protein and healthy fats like Greek yogurt with berries and a sprinkle of unsweetened nuts. Within 3 months, his morning blood sugar readings dropped by nearly 20 points, his energy levels improved, and his afternoon cravings disappeared. If you're over 60 and starting your day with cereal, it's time to look closely at the label, or better yet, consider replacing it altogether. Because the truth is, there's another healthy breakfast food that can be just as dangerous, especially when eaten at the wrong time: certain fruits. And that's what we're going to uncover next. Fruit is often considered nature's perfect food, colorful, refreshing, and loaded with vitamins. For decades, doctors and dietitians have encouraged people to eat more of it. But here's the problem for seniors with slower insulin response. Certain fruits, especially when eaten at breakfast, can cause dangerous blood sugar spikes that fuel the progression toward diabetes. The key lies in the type of sugar found in fruit. While fruits contain natural sugars like fructose and glucose, they also contain fiber which slows sugar absorption. However, not all fruits are created equal. Some, like grapes, bananas, mangoes, and pineapples, are very high in sugar and low in fiber relative to their size. When eaten alone on an empty stomach, these fruits can flood your bloodstream with sugar just as fast as candy. Let me tell you about Patricia, 67 years old, who prided herself on eating a clean diet. Her morning ritual was a large fruit salad, grapes, melon, pineapple, and banana, followed by a cup of tea with honey. She believed she was making the healthiest choice possible. But when we monitored her blood sugar, the results were alarming. Within 30 minutes of eating her fruit salad, her glucose jumped over 60 points. It stayed elevated for nearly 2 hours before dropping sharply, leaving her fatigued and irritable by mid-morning. Why does this happen more severely in seniors? As we've discussed, aging brings reduced insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells don't absorb sugar as effectively. Your pancreas compensates by releasing more insulin, but over time this extra workload can wear it out. When you start your day with high-sugar fruit, especially without protein or fat to slow digestion, you're essentially giving your body a metabolic challenge it can't handle well anymore. Another factor is fructose metabolism. While glucose can be used directly by most cells, fructose is processed primarily in the liver. In large amounts, it can contribute to fatty liver disease, another risk factor for diabetes. For older adults whose liver function may already be slower, this creates an additional burden. And here's where timing becomes crucial. Eating high-sugar fruit first thing in the morning when your body's cortisol levels are already elevated can magnify blood sugar spikes. Cortisol naturally raises blood sugar to give you energy to start the day, so pairing that with a large sugar load from fruit can push your glucose into harmful territory. Even fruit juices, often seen as healthy, are among the worst offenders. When you juice fruit, you remove nearly all the fiber, leaving behind concentrated sugar. A glass of orange juice can contain as much sugar as a soda, and because it's liquid, it hits your bloodstream almost instantly. For seniors, this is a recipe for insulin overload and an energy crash later in the day. When Patricia swapped her morning fruit salad for a small portion of berries mixed into unsweetened Greek yogurt, her blood sugar response changed dramatically. Berries are lower in sugar, higher in fiber, and packed with antioxidants. Combined with protein from yogurt, they kept her glucose steady for hours. Within weeks, she noticed improved focus, fewer cravings, and more sustained energy. The takeaway here is not that you should avoid fruit entirely, far from it, but you must be strategic. Choose lower sugar options like berries, kiwi, or green apples. Pair fruit with protein or healthy fat such as eggs, nuts, or yogurt. And avoid making fruit, especially high-sugar varieties, the sole centerpiece of your breakfast. Unfortunately, fruit isn't the only healthy breakfast choice that can turn harmful for seniors. Another classic pairing, bread and butter, has its own hidden dangers that go far beyond the obvious. And it's what we'll tackle next. For generations, bread with a bit of butter or spread has been a breakfast staple. It's quick, comforting, and familiar. But for seniors, this simple pairing can quietly work against your blood sugar control, especially when the bread is made from refined flour and the spread is high in sugar or unhealthy fats. Let's start with the bread itself. Most store-bought loaves, even those labeled wheat or multigrain, are made primarily from refined white flour. During processing, the bran and germ of the grain are stripped away, removing fiber, vitamins, and healthy fats. What's left is mostly starch, which your body digests rapidly into glucose. The glycemic index of white bread is nearly as high as pure sugar, meaning it can cause a sharp, immediate rise in blood sugar levels. Now pair that bread with a sweet spread, jam, jelly, honey, or even certain natural nut butters, and you've created a double hit. The refined carbs from the bread spike your glucose, and the sugar from the spread pushes it even higher. For someone over 60 with slower insulin response, that's a metabolic roller coaster first thing in the morning. I think of Robert, a 69-year-old former electrician who came to me struggling with mid-morning fatigue and increasing belly weight. His daily breakfast: 2 slices of toast with margarine and a thick layer of strawberry jam washed down with coffee sweetened with flavored creamer. He believed he was eating light compared to his old bacon and eggs days. But when we measured his blood sugar after breakfast, it had shot up by more than 80 points within an hour. By late morning, he'd be nodding off at his desk or rummaging for snacks to get his energy back. The spreads themselves can be deceptive. Many jams and jellies contain more sugar than fruit. Even some peanut butters marketed as natural are loaded with added sugar and hydrogenated oils, which not only harm blood sugar control, but also raise inflammation and heart disease risk. Margarine, once promoted as a healthier alternative to butter, often contains trans fats or heavily processed vegetable oils that contribute to chronic inflammation. Even when seniors choose whole grain bread, there's still a concern. While whole grains contain more fiber, many commercial versions are only partially whole grain and still have enough refined flour to cause significant blood sugar spikes. And without pairing that bread with enough protein or healthy fat, the glucose impact remains high. One easy fix Robert tried was swapping his toast and jam habit for a slice of true 100% whole grain bread topped with mashed avocado and a sprinkle of chia seeds. The avocado provided fiber and healthy fats to slow digestion, while chia seeds added protein and omega-3s. This small change cut his post-breakfast blood sugar spike in half and kept his energy steady until lunch. The problem isn't bread alone, it's bread as the main source of breakfast carbohydrates, especially when paired with sugary spreads. For seniors with reduced insulin sensitivity, this combination can push the pancreas into overdrive every morning, slowly wearing it out. And here's a surprising twist: even healthy foods can turn harmful if eaten at the wrong time of day. Timing your breakfast choices is just as important as what's on the plate. In our next section, we'll explore how the clock can make the difference between a stable glucose day and one filled with dangerous spikes. Most people focus on what they eat for breakfast, but for seniors, when you eat can be just as important. The timing of your first meal can dramatically affect how your body handles blood sugar, turning even healthy foods into metabolic hazards if eaten at the wrong moment. Here's why: in the early morning hours, your body naturally experiences what's called the dawn phenomenon. This is a surge of hormones, particularly cortisol and growth hormone, that raise blood sugar to prepare you for the day ahead. In healthy younger individuals, insulin quickly balances this rise. But for seniors whose insulin response is slower and less efficient, the dawn phenomenon can leave you starting the day with already elevated glucose levels. Now imagine eating a high-carb breakfast right on top of that. Your blood sugar doesn't just rise, it spikes, sometimes reaching levels that quietly damage blood vessels and nerves. This is why two seniors can eat the same exact meal but have very different blood sugar responses depending on the timing. Take Eleanor, a 71-year-old former nurse who liked to eat breakfast as soon as she woke up at 5:30 a.m. Her meal, oatmeal with banana and a glass of juice, wasn't overly large or indulgent. But because she ate during her body's natural cortisol peak, her blood sugar after breakfast was consistently higher than expected. When we asked her to delay breakfast by just 60-90 minutes and start her morning with a short walk, her post-meal glucose levels dropped significantly, even though she ate the same foods. Another common timing mistake is skipping protein and healthy fat in the morning and saving them for later in the day. Without these macronutrients to slow digestion, carbohydrates are absorbed more rapidly, causing steeper blood sugar rises. Seniors who grab a piece of fruit or a slice of toast on the way out the door often see higher glucose swings compared to those who take time for a balanced breakfast. There's also the issue of late breakfasts, especially if they double as brunch. While intermittent fasting can have benefits for some people, skipping breakfast entirely can backfire for seniors if the first meal is overly carb-heavy. After a long overnight fast, your muscles and liver are primed to absorb nutrients quickly. If your first bite is a refined carbohydrate or sugary item, the spike can be even more dramatic than if you'd eaten earlier with protein included. One of my patients, Howard, 66, enjoyed sleeping in on weekends and eating a treat breakfast around 10:30 a.m., usually pancakes with syrup. Because he had gone so many hours without food, his blood sugar shot up higher than during his weekday breakfasts, even though the meal was similar in carb content. Over time, these weekend spikes contributed to an overall worsening of his A1C. The solution isn't to obsess over the clock, but to align your breakfast with your body's metabolic rhythms. For most seniors, this means waiting 45-90 minutes after waking before eating a carb-containing breakfast, including protein and healthy fats in the first meal to slow glucose absorption. Considering a short period of gentle movement before eating, which helps muscles take in glucose more efficiently. By timing breakfast right, you can turn foods that were once problematic into meals your body handles much better. But timing alone won't save you if your meal lacks the key nutrient that stabilizes blood sugar: all morning protein. And in the next section, we'll uncover why many seniors' breakfast protein habits are setting them up for failure. When I ask seniors about their breakfast, most proudly tell me they're eating light to stay healthy, maybe a piece of toast, a banana, or a small bowl of cereal. But here's the problem. These breakfasts are almost always too low in protein. And without enough protein in the morning, you're setting yourself up for unstable blood sugar, increased cravings, and even muscle loss. Protein plays a critical role in keeping glucose steady. When you eat protein, it triggers the release of hormones that slow digestion and help you feel full. This means carbohydrates are absorbed more slowly, leading to smaller and more manageable rises in blood sugar. For seniors, this is crucial because reduced insulin sensitivity means the body already struggles to handle fast-absorbed carbs. Unfortunately, many traditional breakfast foods, especially those marketed as healthy, are overwhelmingly carb-heavy and protein-poor. A bowl of oatmeal made with water, a slice of toast with jam, or a piece of fruit may provide vitamins and fiber, but they often contain less than 5 grams of protein. For most seniors, aiming for 20–30 grams of protein in the first meal of the day can make a noticeable difference in blood sugar stability. Let me share the story of Frank, a 70-year-old retired postal worker. Frank's breakfast was a simple routine: a large glass of apple juice, 2 slices of toast, and occasionally a muffin. By mid-morning, he was always tired and hungry again, reaching for cookies or crackers. His blood sugar readings looked like a roller coaster: high after breakfast, crashing before lunch, then spiking again after a snack. When I suggested adding more protein, he was skeptical. We started small, swapping his juice for a protein shake made with unsweetened almond milk and whey protein, adding 2 boiled eggs alongside his toast and topping his bread with natural peanut butter instead of jam. Within 2 weeks, his mid-morning energy dips were gone. His glucose monitor showed flatter, steadier readings, and he noticed he wasn't craving sweets nearly as much. Protein also plays a protective role against muscle loss, a condition called sarcopenia that accelerates after age 60. Muscle is one of the body's primary sites for glucose storage, so maintaining muscle mass helps keep blood sugar under control. If you're losing muscle due to low protein intake, you're also losing one of your best defenses against diabetes. Many seniors worry that eating more protein will be too heavy on their stomachs, but it's all about choosing the right sources. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, turkey, or chicken sausage, tofu, and protein shakes can all deliver a good dose without making the meal feel overly heavy. The bigger mistake is thinking that coffee with milk or a small handful of nuts is enough. While both contain protein, the amounts are far too small to have a stabilizing effect. You need a substantial protein portion in the morning to blunt that post-breakfast sugar rise. Frank told me later, I didn't realize how much difference it would make. I used to think eating less in the morning was better, but now I feel stronger, I'm not crashing, and I'm even losing some belly fat. His success came from a simple principle: start the day with protein, and your body will handle carbs far better. But even the best protein-rich breakfast can be undone by one sneaky category of health drinks that have become popular with older adults: smoothies, green juices, and other so-called wellness beverages. And in our next section, I'll reveal why these drinks often do more harm than good for your blood sugar. Over the past decade, smoothies and health drinks have exploded in popularity, especially among seniors trying to boost their nutrition. You see them in every grocery store, brightly colored blends promising more energy, better digestion, or sharper memory. But here's the truth: most marketing leaves out many of these drinks are loaded with sugar and can spike your blood glucose just as fast as soda. The danger lies in the way these beverages are made. Whether it's a bottled fruit smoothie, a green juice, or even a homemade blend, the process of liquefying fruit and vegetables breaks down the fiber that would normally slow sugar absorption. Without that fiber intact, your body absorbs the natural sugars much more quickly, leading to a sharp rise in blood sugar. Take bottled smoothies as an example. One popular brand's strawberry banana version contains nearly 50 grams of sugar in a single serving, more than double what the American Heart Association recommends for an entire day. And because the sugars come from fruit, many seniors assume they're harmless. But your pancreas doesn't care whether sugar comes from candy or pureed mango. It still has to release a surge of insulin to deal with it. I remember my patient Elaine, 69, who drank a green smoothie every morning, thinking it was the healthiest thing she could do. She'd blend spinach, kale, banana, pineapple, orange juice, and a spoonful of honey. While it was rich in vitamins, it packed more than 60 grams of sugar without any protein or healthy fat to slow absorption. Her continuous glucose monitor showed a spike within 20 minutes, followed by a crash that left her tired and craving bread or sweets by mid-morning. Even vegetable juices can be problematic. Carrot, beet, and some green juices can be surprisingly high in sugar, and when consumed without the fiber from the whole vegetable, they hit your system almost instantly. This is especially risky for seniors with prediabetes or insulin resistance, because repeated morning spikes over months or years can push blood sugar control past the tipping point. Another issue is the health halo effect. Seniors often choose these drinks to replace a balanced breakfast, thinking they're making a smart swap. But without enough protein and healthy fats, the drink can leave you hungrier sooner, leading to overeating later in the day. The result: more calories overall and even greater blood sugar instability. Elaine's turnaround came when we modified her smoothie. Instead of removing it completely, she swapped the juice for unsweetened almond milk, cut the fruit portion in half, added a scoop of whey protein, and included a tablespoon of chia seeds. The sugar content dropped by more than 60%, and the added protein and fiber slowed digestion enough to keep her blood sugar stable for hours. Within a month, her morning crashes disappeared and she had more consistent energy. The key takeaway: just because a drink is natural or made from fruit doesn't mean it's safe for your blood sugar. Always check the sugar content, watch portion sizes, and add protein or healthy fats to balance the meal. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most important part of this discussion: creating a diabetes-safe morning plan you can actually enjoy and stick with for life. In the conclusion, I'll walk you through simple swaps, timing strategies, and delicious options that keep your blood sugar stable without giving up the pleasure of breakfast. If there's one thing I hope you've taken away from this discussion, it's that your breakfast choices, both what you eat and when you eat, it can have a profound impact on your blood sugar control, especially as you age. Aging changes everything about the way your body processes food. Your muscle mass is lower, your insulin sensitivity is reduced, and your pancreas doesn't respond as quickly or efficiently as it once did. That means the same foods you enjoyed without a second thought in your 40s could now be quietly pushing you toward diabetes in your 60s and 70s. We've talked about the silent dangers of certain healthy habits: sweetened coffee and tea, sugar-laden cereals, high-sugar fruits, eaten alone, refined breads with sugary spreads, and breakfast timing mistakes. We've uncovered why low-protein breakfasts set you up for crashes and cravings, and how health drinks often pack more sugar than a dessert. The common thread in all of these: rapid blood sugar spikes that put stress on your entire system: your heart, your brain, your blood vessels, and your nerves. But here's the good news: by making a few strategic changes, you can reverse much of this risk and start each day in a way that supports, not sabotages, your health. Here are 6 diabetes-safe breakfast swaps and strategies you can start using right away. Start with protein and healthy fat. Aim for at least 20-30 grams of protein in the morning. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu scrambles, or a quality protein shake are great choices. Pair with healthy fats from avocado, nuts, or seeds. Choose lower glycemic fruits. Instead of bananas, grapes, or pineapple first thing in the morning, opt for berries, kiwi, or green apples. Pair them with protein like berries over Greek yogurt to keep blood sugar stable. Rethink your morning beverage. Drink your coffee or tea unsweetened, or flavor it with cinnamon or vanilla extract instead of sugar. If you need milk, choose unsweetened almond, soy, or dairy milk without added sugars. Time your breakfast wisely. Wait 45-90 minutes after waking before eating a carb-containing breakfast, and consider doing light movement first to improve insulin sensitivity. Avoid naked carbs. Never eat refined carbs like bread, cereal, or fruit alone. Always combine them with protein and fat to slow digestion. Make over your smoothie. Keep fruit portions small, skip the juice base, and add protein powder, nut butter, or chia seeds to slow absorption. These aren't extreme changes. They're adjustments that work with your body's current needs, not against them. The goal isn't to strip away the joy of breakfast, but to transform it into a daily act of prevention and self-care. I think of Harold, Patricia, Robert, and the other patients we've talked about in this series. Each of them made small, consistent changes: swapping juice for water, adding protein to their morning, delaying breakfast by an hour, or changing their fruit choices. Within weeks, they noticed more energy, clearer thinking, and better glucose numbers. Within months, some saw their A1C drop into the healthy range without drastic diets or medications. Remember, stable blood sugar doesn't just protect you from diabetes. It helps preserve your memory, maintain your energy throughout the day, keep your heart strong, and protect your vision and nerve health. So the next time you step into your kitchen in the morning, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, will this meal set me up for steady energy or send me on a sugar roller coaster? With the right choices, you can enjoy breakfast, protect your health, and take control of your future. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more senior-focused health tips designed to keep you strong, sharp, and active for years to come.